All right, welcome back, everybody. It is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS strategy show. Got a nice 7-gamer to discuss for tonight, and I'm joined by Josh Harris, inventor, creator of the Josh Stack. How's it going, man?
All right. Won't stop snowing in New Jersey. We got
4?
Yeah, we got 3 feet last weekend, and then all these days are blending together. But at some point last week we got another 6, and then today we got another 3, and then this weekend we're supposed to get another storm. I'm over it.
Yeah, geez. I've talked about on stream how much I hate shoveling. So as long as do you have a service? How do you get rid of all that?
We have a service.
Okay. Well, there you go.
My back can't even sweep snow at this point.
Living the good life. At least you've got a snow service.
Yeah.
I need to invest in more of those. Need to make some money on DK and FanDuel, though. And so that's what we're going to try to do for today. We've got to get out of here before the top of the hour. New NBA show coming on after this. So if you guys are interested in NBA DFS, and you should be, because we offer a ton of really good free content. So we've got 3 free hours going up until lock today. And that'll be the case for most days. That's what we're getting pushed ahead. If you're wondering why we're live right now, this is the new time slot for the NHL DFS strategy show. At least on most days, just make sure you check the schedule. If you subscribe to the channel, you're going to be notified when we go live, and that's the easiest way to know when there's going to be a show. If you don't want to keep track of it, if you don't want to just check the Awesemo YouTube channel, subscribe, and then you can be lazy. I'm in Texas, and it's 40. It's -10 here. So I can't say I feel too bad about 40 degrees. It's probably pretty cold where you're at too, Josh. I'm sure. Is it sub-zero there?
No, it's been in the teens, which is still really cold, but it's manageable, I guess. Put on a hat and coat. When it's below 0 and it's any kind of windy, you can wear an Arctic suit. The wind just cuts through it and it just chills your bones.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now. So it has not been a great last few days. It wasn't a great night of NHL DFS. I know for me personally, I think it was my worst day of the season. I actually ended up scraping by 20% of my entry fees is what I ended up getting back. And so I thought that was a win. I legitimately thought I might get swept last night, which is hard to do with how much I diversify my lineups. But yeah, it was really bad for a while. And then something must have happened where I cashed a few $100s late. I'm assuming it wasn't great for you either. Is there anything to take away from yesterday?
No, I stacked Toronto power play, and they had 7 shots through 2 periods as a team. So, it's late after the Super Bowl. I'm going to chalk it up, even if I'm wrong. I'm just going to believe it in my head that everyone was on a Super Bowl hangover, all these teams were, and this slate is dead to me, and I'll never think about it again.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it a little bit before the show. You're probably going to have 8 to 10 of these throughout the season, where if you stack and you stack heavily and you stack all your lineups, it's just not going to work out. The right one-offs are going to go off, or the wrong one-offs are going to go off, depending on how you look at it. And stacked lineups just won't win in really anything. So if you had a cashier build, maybe a couple Tampa 2 stacks, they were pretty good. Maybe some St. Louis 1, they were not bad. Although I think if you use those 2 together, you might not have come up with enough salary. Some of the expensive defensemen weren't great either. So for me, pretty bad slate. Congrats if you were a winner.
I believe Ryan O'Reilly was the only player to hit the points bonus yesterday, I believe. I could be wrong.
He had 3?
Yeah, I think he had 2 goals and assist.
Yeah, there weren't even shots going on net from teams you expected to. You mentioned Toronto, Edmonton wasn't great, and you've got Edmonton running it back against Toronto tonight. Before we get started with the 7 games, want to mention a couple things. I see the super chat, so I'm going to mention that in just a second. Free premium content for today: NHL top stacks, NBA rankings, and the PGA ownership projections. If you were just watching the PGA show, welcome. NHL top stacks is free. PGA ownership is free. And then once again, NBA rankings. So check that out. We've got a bunch of NBA shows coming on right after this, whether you're into betting, DFS, whatever. We've got info for you for free for all the sites. Mizzou 131313 says fifth in the 333. Congrats there. The schedule is horrible. Well, there's been a lot of cancellations, so I don't know. I mean, they're doing a decent job balancing it out, but like, if they're gonna, 3 games are gonna get canceled every night, like, you can't really blame the NHL for that, like the actual scheduling. And then Eric Hoffman, once again, $25 super chat. Thanks again, man. He's been on fire, just sending some screenshots just casually every single night. Feels like he's won about 10 days in a row. So congrats again. They're always generous with the super chats. Bring back lineup study. I mean, we don't have screen share. So if there might be a way to do that, or maybe we could start an article with that. I know we've got one for NBA and NFL. So we're thinking about that kind of content. It's just difficult without the screen share, but we'll always talk about a little bit about the night before. Yesterday was the first show since February. Oh, first time you listened. Nice. Well, glad it worked out for you. Got to listen every single day then. Going to play my first NHL slate tonight. Any advice for a beginner? What would you say to that, Josh?
I mean, really, you don't want to. It's not like NBA where you're just plugging in guys from different teams and getting value there. I think you really want to concentrate on correlating your lineups. You can power play stack. The most common one is 4 from one team, 3 from another, and then a one-off defenseman. That's normally how it goes. Maybe over the past couple seasons since the scoring changes with the arbitrary bonuses, people have been going away from that, and then maybe that's not the most EV lineup construction now, but really as a beginner, what you want to do is correlate your lineups. However you want to do that, that's up to you. But the more correlation, generally, the better in large field GPPs. Single entry, 3 max, you can get a little cashy, but generally you still want correlation there too.
Yeah, and you're actually, if this is your first day, it's pretty lucky for you because we've got the top stacks tool for free. So you can see some of the stacks that we think are over-owned and under-owned relative to their chances of being a top 2 stack on the slate. So I would just go to that tool, maybe pick a couple stacks there, one kind of under-owned stack or maybe 2 under-owned stacks and a value stack. And then you can build a pretty good foundation there. And if you're building a bunch of lineups, I would definitely say to use the top stacks tool, which again, free today. A bunch of helpful people in chat, so they'll help you out. We got a pretty good community here, and also in the premium Slack as well. Let's talk about the games. We got 7 of them. We got about 45 minutes, so we're going to start with a fun one here: Detroit and Florida. 2.2 implied total for the Red Wings, 3.4 for the Panthers. Thomas Greiss and Sergei Bobrovsky are your goalies. No update on the status of Anthony Mantha. He was a late scratch on Sunday, I want to say that these 2 teams played. And then the only note I really have for Florida is just they've been swapping their third and second line centers, Wenberg and this E2 guy, E2L. I have no clue.
Luo Striinen, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. His name intimidates me, but
lots of that.
Wenberg scored a goal last game. I looked up his shot attempts. He had 1 shot attempt. He's just so bad for DFS, and I continue to play him. And I don't know. If you're going to play that second line, I would just try to throw Barkov in with them. But what are you drawn to in this one?
Yeah, so the first thing I noticed in this game, besides the Mantha news, and apparently he was a healthy scratch, so who knows what Jeff Blashill's doing? No one really knows. But the first thing I noticed is now this top line for the Panthers, Verhaeghe, Barkov, Duclair, their sample as a line is over 100 minutes, so you can kind of take away that their numbers are still really excellent. They have a 60% Corsi for percentage at 3.52 expected goals for. That is very, very good. The problem that I'm having here, there's 2 problems I'm having here with going full Florida one. One, their price is like 18.4-ish. They're about $300 cheaper than your darling's Vegas 1. So I don't know if I would want to play Florida 1 over Vegas 1 tonight because of the power play correlation. 2, Verhaeghe and Duclair, their price is getting up there. Verhaeghe's 5,600 and 5,100. So if you look down at that second line, Huberdeau is only 400 more than Verhaeghe, and Duclair is is 1,000 less than Hornquist, but like if I'm going Florida, I'd probably find that 1,400 more to power play one stack them. Detroit's, a bad team. They're below average defensively. It's not I'm not telling you, I'm not breaking any news there, but for me, like really 5-on-5, I probably go Florida 2 here, like a Huberdeau, Hornquist, Yandel, like power play. If you're like, because Barkov is 7,700. That's a hefty price to pay. But that top line, like I said, I'd rather play Vegas 1 than Florida 1. I'm not going to fault you if you want Florida 1. This is a great spot. Detroit's terrible. It's probably Grice, right? Because Bruno's still out.
He's likely, yeah.
I mean, listen, from a 5-on-5 line, you're not going to find much better in terms of the numbers. But for me, I want a power play stack or Florida 2 just for a little bit of savings there. And on the Detroit side, we got to wait and see what's going on with Mantha. I mean, Bobrovsky, I don't know what his deal is. Maybe he's nagging injuries or catching up to him, or he got paid and just doesn't care anymore. But he has not been good. So like, I really want to play this top line. Zadina, Larkin. Or sorry, not the top line because they're going against Florida 1. That's just a brutal matchup.
Fabry Ryan and Giovanni Smith.
Yeah. What'd I just do? Fabry Ryan and Giovanni Smith. I'm hoping.
Is it Giovanni
or Giovanni?
There's no A after the first I, so it's confusing.
Givani.
Giovanni. Anyways, G Smith.
Yeah, G Smith. I'm hoping Zadina slots in there. Or not Zadina, I'm sorry, Mantha. And then I would have some Bobby Ryan, Fabry, and Mantha just because they're so cheap and they probably correlate on power play 1. Although if Mantha does come back, Fabry comes off the top power play. We have to wait and see is basically what I'm going with there. It is an early game. It's the first game. It's one of the 7 o'clock, so we'll definitely see in warm-ups, hopefully. Christian Jew's price is creeping up a little bit on the blue line, 3,500. I think you can still go there if you're stacking Detroit for the power play, and then Florida if you're power play stacking or using the top or second line, you can use either Ekblad or Yandel. Ekblad's $500 more expensive. I think if I'm power play stacking, I'd want Yandel just for the $500 savings. If I'm going even strength, I'd have Ekblad, and I also don't mind Mackenzie Weegar he's not really a punt anymore. He's like a mid-range. He's 4,300, but he plays a ton of minutes, and he's on the top pair with Ekblad.
Yeah, I think a bunch of different ways to attack, specifically this Florida side. Tough matchup for Larkin, so I'm not super interested in Detroit. I think if Mantha were to come back and play with Larkin and Zadina, that would be something I would target no matter what the matchup is. I don't know that that's overly likely. I think it's probably more likely slots in on the second line if he does play, but we seriously have no clue. Coach says he's not going to give an update. Sounds like maybe a doghouse situation. And hopefully he can just get out of Detroit because he's a really good player. And he just they're good players, just don't get used right in Detroit. I don't think so. Corsi in chat says Duclair took Ekblad's power play spot in the last game. So I think, assuming that's the case, then you got 2 guys from each of the top 2 lines on the top power play. And then you don't have to deal with the double defenseman power play. I kind of like that, although I don't really want to use Ekblad as a one-off. So Barkov will be in the majority, if not all, of my Florida stacks. Try to avoid Wenberg if you can. If you get your 1 goal out of Wenberg on 1 shot attempt, like, congrats. You just hit the lottery. But he would be, I would like, you could just crunch with him in if you're making a bunch of lineups and then just X him out or switch, like do a 2v2 in the rest of your lineup. He is like just really, really poor for DFS, even though he plays on a good line. He somehow just does not contribute. But yeah, I agree with Florida 1. It's probably going to be pretty contrarian to have that full line with Verhaeghe and Duclair at over 5K, but I think they're worth the price just based on their 5-on-5 numbers alone, just based on the 5-on-5 matchup alone. Anything else in this game?
I mean, again, Detroit, cheap goalie, going to see shot volume.
Yeah.
Want to use Grice. We saw it last night with Matt Murray and Mike Smith. Mike Smith was like almost 40% owned. He was min price at 6,500. But like these cheap, like I'm just gonna keep beating this dead horse until someone tells me not to. Like these cheap road goalies who see volume, they're gonna win you GPPs if they hit the shot, the save bonus, and get a win. So
yeah, especially on bigger slates like this, like you just slam some of these low price, low owned goalies with upside. You're probably going to hit on one or two of them, most slates. So I think that's fine if you're not correlating. Let's go to Edmonton and Ottawa. 3.7 implied total for the Oilers, 2.8 for the Sens. Koskinen and likely Hogberg. It was Matt Murray last night. He picked up the loss, but didn't play too terribly. Edmonton wasn't overly impressive. One note on the Edmonton side is that it looks like Puljujarvi took the top power play duties from James Neal. And if that's the case, now you've got fully correlated Edmonton 1, Puljujarvi only 4,800, and looks like one of the clear chalky lines of the night. So I'm assuming you're going right back to Edmonton 1 if you have a handful of lineups. I don't know if you're considering them for your single entry here.
Yeah, so I think it was Cliffy who sent out this tweet earlier about the McDavid and Puljujarvi, the Wowies. And if you don't know what Wowies are, it's if you go to naturalstattrick.com, you go to the line tool, and you put in the team and the line mates. It basically shows the players' numbers with or without their line mates on the ice. And McDavid's numbers with Puljujarvi on the ice are incredible. Like, so much better than when they had Cassian or whoever up there. I mean, again, not breaking news here. Cassian, not exactly.
Cassian's out also. If anybody was considering playing, he's out for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, so like this line with Puljujarvi, hopefully it sticks together for a long time because I'm a big Puljujarvi guy. I was upset that he couldn't break into the lineup last year. But anyway, so the Oilers only had 3 power plays last game, but Puljujarvi did see the top power play 2 of the 3. So hopefully that sticks. Even if he's not on for all of them, they throw, James Neal on for some of it. You're still going to get for 4,800. I want some of that power play one time. And I think last game, the Senators were hard matching the Colin White line against McDavid. I mean, it worked last game. It worked last night, but I'm still going back to Edmonton 1 here. I think it's one of my favorite lines of the night. McDavid's still 9,000, but Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' price has come down a little bit. He's under 7,000. Puljujarvi's 4,800. It's still manageable. And then it's Tyson Barrie. They finally am pricing him accordingly on the power play, 5,700. So, I mean, that's kind of a tough sell for me. I'm not a huge Tyson Barrie guy. But if you are power play stacking or you're using that top line, I think Barry's okay. I do like Nurse as a one-off. And then I like the second line for Edmonton as well. It doesn't have great power play correlation. Yamamoto's not even on the power play, and Cahoon's on power play too, but they're cheap, and you get Draisaitl at an $800 discount for McDavid. Draisaitl's heavily involved on the power play. They're going to see the Tierney line, I would imagine, with Connor Brown and Stützle, but it still favors Edmonton too, and you get the Draisaitl power play correlation. And then on the Senators side, I was high on the Senators top line last night, and I still am. I think this is a decent matchup. They're going to go overlooked again. Dadonov's still 3,700 on the top power play. Brady Tkachuk's down under 7,000, so it makes it more manageable. Josh Norris's price is a bit high for me, 5,000, not on the top power play. So I think, if you want to leave him off, that's okay. And to put Chabot in, he's pricey too, 6,200. And I think he's more of a, power play stack or Ottawa 1 type of stack deal. I wouldn't want off of him, I don't think. And then Nikita Zaitsev, again, he's kind of like a Mackenzie Weegar type of play. If you need a mid-range defenseman, I think he's okay. Cause he led the Senators in shots yesterday. That's not going to happen all the time or maybe even again this season, but I think, he does block a lot of shots and does see over 20 minutes a night.
Lots in this one as well. I mean, Edmonton won the clear spot. I mean, if you look at our top stacks tool, highest chance of being a top 2 stack on the night, and just a little extra bump if Puljujarvi's even going to play half the power play one time and split with Neal. Just some extra correlation there. I can't think of 2 guys that correlate more to each other in terms of like having big games than McDavid and Draisaitl. Like since I've played NHL DFS, that don't play on the same line. Like it's insane how often, like when one of them has a 3-point game, the other's scoring like 2 to 4 points as well, just because they're so dynamic on the power play. And then when things are close, they play together some at 5-on-5 as well. Not as much this year. It looks like they've got something with McDavid, RNH, and Puljujarvi line, but like in past years, they played a ton. They played a little bit at 5-on-5 when things were getting down towards the end of the game, and they're playing a lot of competitive games. So, it's insane how often those guys have big performances together without playing a ton at 5-on-5 together. So, I mean, Edmonton power play. If you want to go to the second line, looks a little popular. I think you might see some decreased ownership on a guy like Yamamoto at 5K, now not on the power play. It's not that big of a concern for me going up against Ottawa. They're not super strong at 5-on-5. You don't get the $6,500 Mike Smith tonight. It's $8,200 Koskinen. So if he might see decent volume, so I'm not just going to X him out or anything like that. But it's a little bit different of a situation tonight with the Edmonton goalies.
Maybe I'm way off base here, but since the arbitrary save bonus has come in, I feel like paying up a goalie isn't as good as it used to be. Like I feel like you're not seeing these winning lineups with an $8,500 goalie as much anymore.
Right. I mean, in like an onslaught situation where if your lineup's very unique and you're playing like 4 to 5 forwards plus a defenseman, like if you're Josh stacking basically and the goalie fits, that's a situation where I think it's fine. But yeah, like usually the goalies are priced where like they're highly priced if they have a great opportunity to win. But if they have a high chance of winning, that probably means they're going to crush the other team more often than not. And that means they're not going to see a lot of volume. And if you're not going to see a lot of volume, you need to allow basically 1 or 0 goals and get 25 plus shots. And sometimes you're dead if you don't get a shutout, especially if there's another goalie at 7,100 that's 5% owned and stops 38 shots like we see happen all the time on these bigger slates. So I agree, even though I correlate a lot. So, Ottawa side, we're still seeing some increased ownership on Ottawa 1, but it's mostly because of Dadonov's price, I think. He's 3,700, plays top power play. He's a guy who can score some goals. This is a pretty good top line, so I'll work them in, but I'm still kind of waiting for the spot where they're like 3% owned on a bigger slate rather than 9%, which is what we're showing right now. So
Norris's price to drop too, like 5,000 is a bit. Like he was like 3,200 to start the season.
Yeah,
like, that's more in the price range I want to play him. 5,000, I'd rather go. In the next game, Matt Duchene is 4,600. I'd rather play Duchene over Norris for sure.
Tony Snow in chat says Ottawa 1 confirmed by the dog. I didn't hear a bark there. It sounds like your dogs must have been making a little bit of noise. So they liked Ottawa 1. Noted.
I got multiple dogs, so I don't know which one was barking. I can't even hear it anymore.
Well, we need one more line so we can at least fill out the 2 stacks.
Okay.
So then we can just update the top stack tool, put a little note in there. Josh's dog barked during the show. We were talking about this line, so.
Dobby the Free Elf confirms Ottawa 1.
All right, Tampa Bay, Nashville. We've got a 3.1 implied total for the Lightning, 2.5 for the Preds. Vasilevsky and UC Saros are your expected goalies. Rene went last night for the Preds. These two teams played last night. It was McElhinney, so pretty confident that these two guys are going to start. Anyways, Tampa 2 had a nice game last night. Tampa 1 was okay at 5-on-5. And we're seeing essentially the same situation. Last night was a 6-game slate. Tonight's a 7-game slate. And Tampa 1, pretty decent chance of being the top 2 stack. And very, very low ownership. They're not the best spot, but I think they're just kind of an okay spot. Would you have Tampa? Would you consider them with one lineup tonight?
Well, so when I was going through my options for my one lineup, I was like, oh, I'm pretty confident that I have what I like now. And then I looked through the games again. I was like, oh man, Tampa's on the slate. Like I like completely overlooked them. But now that I'm coming back to it, like it's just weird, like how Nashville has been matched. Like I was looking at shift chart earlier, and it's just weird how Nashville matched up this game. Like they were sending out the Duchesne line out like a good bunch against Tampa 3, which makes no sense.
That basically plays into exactly what Tampa would do if they were at home. So just like throwing just basically giving Tampa last change.
Yeah, and then like the reason like the Sorelli line did so well is because they went up against at least a good chunk of the game against Yarncrow, Kunin, and Tolvanen. So like that leaves like the Halla Nick Cousins Granlund line going against the Tampa top line, which definitely favors the Tampa top line. Looking at their numbers this season, I mean, they only have a 51% Corsi for percentage and a 2.65 expected goals for, and only 12 high danger chances for per 60, which for like an elite line, like we clump them together, like, oh, this is an elite line. Like you want them to be generating more. So like they're having some issues generating some high danger chances here. I mean, they have 29 scoring chances for, but only 12 of them are high danger. I'd want to see that high danger number jump up if I want to, slate in, slate out, consider them for my one lineup. That being said, it is a contrarian spot for me, and I think you definitely want some because they have the ability just to bomb whatever team they're playing, especially fully correlated on the power play. Yeah. You want to leave Palat off. It's always dangerous. Like I always say, like with these elite lines, if you don't have to leave a guy off, don't. Try not to. It is really hard to fit them in with Hedman. Hedman's 7,400. So, I mean, like if you want to leave off Palat and punt somewhere else and put in Hedman, that's fine. But like for me, like Tampa 1, fully chlorinated, I want all of them with Hedman, and I'll try to make it work. Tampa 2, I'm not huge on them. I mean, they have a great matchup again. I'd rather go to the third line here. Especially if they're going to go up against that Duchesne line. It's a very small sample, but these guys have been together for 35 minutes this season. They have a 41% Corsi for, and they're giving up 8 high danger chances per 60, which is okay, but like they're going to get outchanced. Tampa 3 is super cheap. They're 10-6, something like that. So yeah, Tampa 1, Tampa 3. And I mean, I do like this Nashville top line. Don't get me wrong. They're cheap. They don't really correlate very well. But if I was, 20 max, I'd have some 150 max. I'd probably have a little bit more. But yeah. And that second line, Halla, Cousins, Granlund, like I don't want to use them, even if they are going against Tampa 1, and they may see a bump, in time and ice. But like Nick Cousins, Halla, power play 1 mini for 5,100. Like if you want to get like crazy, sure. I prefer, if I'm going to one-off someone from that line, be Granlund, just because that power play 2 kind of they're kind of splitting their power plays again. It's Duchesne, RV, Granlund, Tolvanen, and Fabro. So if you want to like get weird and do some power play 2 stacking, I think that can make sense. But for me, from a one lineup perspective, this game kind of is a pass for me. This is more of an MME spot for me.
I agree. I don't think I'm targeting a whole lot in like with limited lineups. So if you're playing like 333, maybe the 40 where it's like a 20 max if you're maxing that out, or the $4 or the $1, $2, whatever it is. I would definitely get in some Tampa 1. I'm going to have some Tampa 1 in my MME builds. Certainly going to have some Tampa 3. They're a line that I always go to. I think we've got, let's see, do we have the wrong price in for them on the top stack tool? Yeah, we do.
I might have done the math wrong. I did it in my head real quick.
Yeah, so we have them at 13-1. I was like, oh, that's kind of
no, Gordon Coleman 3,800 apiece, and then Barclay Goodrow, the big price bump to 3K.
10-6. So you're dead on there. But like 1 and 3, probably not going back to the second line very often. And then on the Nashville side, Nashville 1 is going to get some ownership. I think mostly as a filler, they go well with some of these other lines we like. But just the matchup's tough. against Tampa, whether it's home or road. And if they're going to try to go up against Tampa 3, that's not a great matchup. Certainly not for one of the higher owned lines of the entire night. So
it makes no sense. They're in Nashville. Like,
I don't know. I mean, but who do you go up against?
I would want to go up against the Cirelli line. I mean, they have good numbers too. I mean, all these. I mean, maybe you want to send them out against the point line. They have the worst numbers of 5-on-5 of any of the Tampa lines. But like, I don't know. I'm not the coach.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just a stat boy, as the beat writers say.
I like the Hall of Cousins 2-man. I can see like going with Edmonton power play. You need like 2-man and throwing in a cheap defenseman as well. So I'm in for some of that. Whether it's Hall of Cousins, Cousins, Granlund, you can 2-man them. I think anyway. Price point is just gonna be a little bit different. Ekholm is expected to be in as well, so that's gonna help out Nashville's defense. It was baby reasons that he missed the game yesterday. So it sounds like he's going to be back tonight. Otherwise, Fabro, 2,700, not a bad punt. And then Yossi, like, he hasn't been phenomenal this season, and some of the beats are saying he's frustrated, but we still have him projected for 14 at 6K, which is the highest projection for a defenseman tonight.
He's coming out a little bit here. Yeah. He's heating up.
He had the block shot bonus. He had 6 block shots. Like, he's just a pretty safe floor, it seems like, no matter what the matchup. But we haven't seen like the massive spike games from him yet.
I'd rather play him and have him bust than not play him at lower ownership and have him go off and regret it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Blackhawks and the Stars. 2.5 implied total for the Hawks, 3.1 for the Stars. Lankinen and Dobin. I'm sorry, it's Ottinger, I believe. I believe he got confirmed earlier. So we'll get the lineup builder updated for that. Weird things going on with the Dallas lines. Did they skate this morning? I guess I hadn't checked since earlier.
I think Radulov is confirmed out. And
okay,
Kiviranta is game time decision, I think.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything you like in this game, first of all? Like, is this like we're not going to know lines before this game starts?
Yeah, I mean you'll know at least pairs for the Stars. Like Ben Pavelski will probably be together. Hintz and Gurianov are probably going to be together, right? So I don't mind that Dallas second line, Hintz and Gurianov for the power play 1 with Klingberg. Like, I don't really like playing Dallas.
I hate him. Yeah. I can't stand them.
This is a good matchup though, and like I still don't want to play them. Like, it's just their power play has been like white hot to start to see. Like, they started like 8 for 12. Like, that's not sustainable. Like, even the past few games they've calmed down a little bit, but like I don't want to play them for like 5v5. Like 7,500 Pavelski. Like, he's not 27 anymore. He's like late 30s. I just can't do it. And then, like, I kind of like the Blackhawks here a little bit. Like, the one thing I will say about the Blackhawks is that top line of Janmark, Kurashev, and Kane. The past few games, halfway through the game, P.S. Suter comes up and replaces Kurashev. So if you're in on like Hawks 1, I think you got to be aware of that. I mean, I don't think you have to play Kane. Like, he's 7,600. That's something that this is a tough matchup. This is like, this game has sludge written all over it. But I do kind of like that second line of Kubalik, Strome, and DeBrincat. They're kind of expensive, and I think their price is going to drive down the ownership here. I'm a big Kubalik guy. I wish he was on power play 1, but Strome and DeBrincat are on power play 1. I think looking at their small sample, if you're interested in that line, don't look at their small sample this season. The numbers are absolutely atrocious, but they are creating a decent amount of high danger chances, considering they have a 39% Corsi for in that small percentage. But this game as a whole is kind of like a pass for me. If I was MMEing, I'd take some stabs on Chicago 2 and maybe Dallas 2 here.
Yeah, the problem with Dallas, mostly. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say I do like the goalies in this game, specifically Lankin, and just price, volume.
Yeah. Man, I don't really know what to do with Dallas here. Ochi Blue comments, hard to figure out where the scoring is going to come from. Yeah, so when that's the case and you've got like talented players in the top six and getting like they are stacking up the top power play, Hintz, Gurianov, Pavelski, Ben, and Klingberg. So like at least has the potential to be a good power play this season. Now they're not going to sustain whatever they're at right now, but I mean, if you can get a goal, each of the top two lines gets a goal, and then maybe you get like an empty net. Like you could paint a scenario where they score 4 goals and you have like a 5-man power play stack, and it's useful tonight against the Blackhawks because it is a good 5-on-5 matchup. I just have no clue what the lines are going to be. So I'm probably going to have most of my Dallas exposure with power play stacks. So
is this a 7:00 game?
Or it is 8:30 Eastern.
Yeah, so that's like even worse because
So if you're playing, if you're in FC, you could just make all these guys line one, like the 4 guys, Hintz, Gurianov, Pavelski, Ben, and just have some combo going of those if you wanted to 3-man stack it. Like that's something I've done at times with teams like Edmonton, where when they have like a scrub on the top line and a couple of good players in the second line with Draisaitl. So there are ways to get creative in your crunches if you're building a bunch of lineups. And so that's something I'm going to experiment with, just trying to play the good Stars players that get a lot of PP time, because I want to attack the Blackhawks, but it's difficult when it could be Ty Delandre, it could be Kiviranta, it could be Robertson on line 2, or it could be none of those guys.
Deleandre or whatever, if Kiviranta's out, will be on that top line. So like, I mean, like, those pairs, the Hintz Gurianov pair is way cheaper than the Ben Pavelski pair. So
yeah,
I prefer Hintz Gurianov just for the savings.
Okay. Yeah, not a bad call. So we'll have some Dallas onslaughts with Klingberg in there. And then I like Hiskinen a little bit as a one-off at 5,400, just a talented player. I don't have much on the Chicago side per usual.
I was just trying to, find something and talk about it.
Blackhawks PP, I mean, they've been pretty good. So, all right. Before we head out to the Vegas game, again, premium content for today that is unlocked for everyone. Top stacks for NHL, NBA rankings, PJ ownership projections. If you guys haven't checked out our NHL Twitter account, make sure you check that out. It's just at Awesemo NHL. And what we've got over there is just not only highlights, some fun videos, but also good information that we find from Slack. If you're looking to join the site, Awesemo Plus Weekly Pass is $29.95 for everything on the site. If you're just looking for NHL, we've got an NHL Weekly Package for $11.95. That includes projections, ownership projections, the top stack tool, and the lineup builder, as well as premium Slack, which is, I think, our favorite. A lot of tilting going on, but a lot of good information in there as well. Anaheim, Vegas, 2.1 implied total for the Ducks, 3.4 for the Knights. Gibson, Fleury, what do you like in here?
Well, I mean, the Vegas top line, they're just running people over. I don't like stacking. I don't like making a living stacking against Gibson. You're probably going to end up losing money long term. But the Ducks are just, they leave Gibson hanging out to dry. And this Vegas one line is one of the best lines in hockey. People like to talk sauce about Chandler Stevenson, but he rewarded the Stevenson backers with 2 goals last game. And then another big deal, like everyone's like, oh, Pacioretty, 8,100. Stevenson's 4,100. Mark Stone's price has come down. He's 6,700. Their full line is like mid-18s. They have a really long sample, 60% Corsi for, 3.63 expected goal for, 16 high danger chances 4 per 60. Pacioretty and Stone on the top line. Pietrangelo still going to be out, so Shea Theodore in. He's getting pricey, 7,200. He hasn't done much the past 2 games with Pietrangelo out. So I think maybe with the price, his ownership may come down. Almost done, but the Theodore ownership will be coming down. I think it's one of those plays where it's like Burns a couple games ago, or maybe even a couple weeks ago when he was like 7,100 and he was like 2% owned. I think this is a spot where I think you can go to Theodore even as a one-off and get him lower owned, and maybe he gets a couple points on the power play. So yeah, I really like this Vegas top line. I think the second line's fine again. I don't really like how, Marchessault and Smith aren't on the top power play. They won't see many power play minutes. Vegas kind of sends out that top unit for most of the 2 minutes. But I as a 5-on-5, what you're getting with them. I think you can go there. And then if you want to use that third line, I think that's viable as well. Tuck, Glass, and Roy, or Wah, depending on if he's Canadian or American. But Glass on the top power play, I think if you want to get sneaky and you want to throw in Glass over Stevenson on the top line, I think you can do that. And then on the Ducks side, I'm not sure if Getzlaf has ruled out, but if not, Grant's going to be there again. And Getzlaf's prices come down big time where you can put in Grant and not have to scramble. Getzlaf is only $300 more. So if you're playing the Ducks top line, in an MME build, just be aware, leave $300 just in case, because this is a late game. If I'm going to play the Ducks, though, it's going to be that second line, Danton Heinen, Sam Steele, Jakob Silfverberg. Steele and Silfverberg on the power play for 6,700. I think you can go. That combo is nice, and you can put them with Shattenkirk for 3,800. It's a nice, cheap way to get some power play exposure. But for me, I'm mostly on Vegas in this game. I don't like stacking against Vegas. But MME-wise, I think you can have some of that Ducks second line.
Yeah, agreed on the Ducks. I'll at least include the top two lines, Steele line and Grant. Good point there about Getzlaf. I didn't even think about him potentially returning. You could throw in Lindholm or Shattenkirk with really either of those top two if you wanted to make it a four-man. Stinks that Raquel's on the third line, but that's another potential one-off guy at 4K. Someone's going to go up against the Carlson line. They're not super strong defensively. They are really strong offensively, as are all the Vegas lines. You have to avoid the Stevenson, Pacioretty, Stone line. So you think is that going to be Getzlaf if he plays, right?
I think Carlson's line is going to go up against the Steele line. Vegas kind of goes 1-1, 2-2.
Or they don't even hard match.
It doesn't matter who, from the Vegas side, it doesn't really matter who they send out, but you will kind of want to, from the Duck side, you don't want to play the Steele line and them going up against Stevenson, and you're just in a big world of hurt. But for the most part, I think Carlson's going to see the Steele line, which is more like Anaheim 2 better than the top line.
Yeah, that's a good call. So maybe I'll consider even Xing out Anaheim 1 now that you're talking me through this a little bit. Vegas, they're a little bit pricey, the top line especially. But yeah, I love the onslaught here. I love Vegas 1, the Stevenson line. Stevenson doesn't project very well for us, but his line mates just I just don't really care. Maybe the best line in hockey, one of the best lines. You can throw in Carlson for $1,500 more, change the price point a bit, and take out Stevenson if you wanted the full power play 1. Throw in Theodore. Well, I guess that works. Shea Theodore or Alec Martinez. Those are a couple guys that I will be using as well. I like the Burns comparison. So Theodore is probably overpriced, especially for the projection we have for him, but he's still one of the highest raw point guys, and that's going to keep his ownership definitely in check. So, yeah, love Vegas. I think they might be my highest exposed team for the night, and I feel really good about it. So, let's go to what do we got? 10 minutes left for 2 games. We can do that. Winnipeg, Calgary, 3.1 implied total for the Jets, 2.9 for the Flames. Connor Hellebuck and Jacob Markstrom are your expected goalies. What is going on with the Winnipeg lines? I have no idea if these are confirmed or not. I don't know if you saw anything, Josh, but
Trevor Lewis in the top 6, right?
Lewis with Dubois and Connor, yeah.
Where's Stastny? Did he?
Stastny with Wheeler and Christian. I can't this guy's name is getting cut off because it's so long. Vestalainen.
Oh yeah, so they're in the bottom 6. Well, I don't know. Either Connor or Wheeler are going to be in the bottom 6.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, like Kopp's been good. He's definitely earned a chance of playing with some of the top guys. I just wish they would kind of stack up 2 lines, and then I don't know what you do here, but it makes it a little difficult for DFS. So I'm more interested in the Calgary side here with either Calgary power play or I like the Monahan, Gaudreau, and Bennett line a little bit at 5-on-5. What are you digging here?
Again, I like this Winnipeg top line. Sucks their power play correlation. They're kind of like, well, not 5v5 prowess wise, but kind of like how Florida 1 has 1 guy on the top power play and 2 on power play 2. I think if they're going to go up against, I kind of want to avoid the Lindholm Tkachuk line, and they're probably going to go against the Scheifele line, so that bumps down Winnipeg 1 for me. But looking at the Tkachuk Lindholm Dubé line, like they have an 80-minute sample, and their numbers are bad. And I didn't get a chance to look at their wowies, and I would imagine, without going out on the limb, it's Dubé. But yeah, so I don't know. Even looking at their numbers, knowing that how good Lindholm and Tkachuk were in the playoffs and how good they've been in the beginning of the season, I would want to avoid them. So MME wise, I'd have some Winnipeg 1, but I would limit them. The other 3 lines for Winnipeg, it's kind of unplayable. You can, one off a Wheeler, you can one off a Connor. Dubois making his Jets debut. He hasn't played since like 2003, it feels like. So like, you want to one off him? Okay, like I'm gonna wait and see. So for me, Flames, Tkachuk, Lindholm, that's where I want to be. Gaudreau, Monahan, don't mind them as well. For the power play, they're a little bit cheaper than the Lindholm Tkachuk, but their numbers are terrible too as a full line. I would imagine it's Sam Bennett. Like they need to figure out, like, just put a line together here. Like stop like giving Lindholm and Tkachuk and Monahan and Gaudreau just absolute like anchors. I don't know what they're doing. They need to figure it out. And that third line, Backlund, Mangiapane, and Milan Lucic, like they were really, really good the last game. I think they're viable as a third line. But this game's kind of like from a 1-3 lineup perspective, is a fade for me. 20 max, maybe I'd have a little bit of that top Calgary line, and then 150 max, I'd work in some Calgary 1, 2, and 3, and then a little bit of Winnipeg 1.
Yeah, Lucic, the GOAT, got me a nice cash the other night.
You can't skate for the life of him. Just
so bad.
Big ass in front of the goalie.
But like Backlund and Mangiapane going up against depth. I know Winnipeg's pretty deep now with Dubois there, but I don't know if any of these lines are going to be good. I think maybe Backlund, Mangiapane 2-man. I've used up my Lucic card for the entirety of his career, so I don't think you need to do that. But yeah, I think I prefer the Calgary side just because I don't know how to attack Winnipeg. I guess you can go power play stack, but I don't really love it. I'm still a little bit worried about Lindholm and Tkachuk. I agree with you. Even with Dubé there, they're live to make some changes. In game, we've seen them do that and juggle guys around. It could be Lucic up there, who knows? So I like both of the Calgary top 2 lines, and then Backlund Mangiapane. I wish it was Backlund Mangiapane and Tkachuk, but can't always get what we want.
Yeah, we can't have nice things.
Yeah, Hannafin. I keep playing this guy, and he's not really doing a whole lot, but 2,700, I'll play him again. And then I like Gio as a one-off. 5,500 isn't a super appealing price, but the ownership's going to be low, and he's still a guy that attempts shots, and we'll block some shots as well.
Oh, we got the bark. We got the bark.
Giordano? All right, so auto 1 plus Giordano. So we've got, we're 4 players into the nuts right now. We need to just figure out the last piece here. Last game of the night. Before you guys head out, if you could drop us a like and subscribe to the channel so you know when we go live. That would really help us out. Helps us continue to offer some free content that it seems like a bunch of you guys like, not only for NHL, but NBA, PGA, all that good stuff. And then again, check out the free premium content for the day for NHL. That is the top stack tool. So really usable tool, whether you're hand building or MME building. We love it. All the subscribers use it on a daily basis. Sharks, Kings, 3 implied total for both sides. I don't know how. Marty Jones and Jonathan Quick in net. Maybe that's how.
You just answered your own question.
Yeah. Good looking lines, I think, for the Sharks. Some potential on the Kings side. A little bit of ownership going to both sides. A lot of bit of ownership. It seems like these are going to be some popular fillers. Do you have a favorite one here? And I think I already know the answer to that question. You're going to some San Jose too, it looks like.
Yeah, so initially I wanted to go to the Couture, LeBanc, Kane line, but I was looking at Kopitar's numbers with Iafallo and Brown, and they have a massive sample, but so I shortened it down to their sample this season, and it's not a very big sample, but their numbers are overly, like, a little bit better than their career numbers. So I kind of want to avoid going up against Kopitar. So for me, I want to go to the San Jose second line, Timo Meier, Tomas Hertl, and Ryan Donato. Hertl's on power play 1, Meier, Donato, power play 2. So I think if you're using that line, if you want power play 1 correlation, if you can, obviously if you want to one-off Burns or fit Burns in with them, you can. If you want to get the discount for Erik Karlsson, you can do that as well. But for me, I want to use Super Mario Ferraro with them. He's seeing over 20 minutes a game. He's 3,500. He correlates with Timo Meier and Ryan Donato on the power play 2. So that's where I'm at with the Sharks. I think you can work in San Jose 1 in MME for sure. Then the Kings side, I kind of want some of that Kings top line, even though I'm not a huge Iafallo and Brown guy. They do all correlate in power play 1. Marty Jones is bad. The Sharks are horrific defensively. Their best defenseman is what? Erik Karlsson. He's getting just absolutely lapped. Like, his numbers aren't great.
Yeah.
San Jose 2, LA Kings 2 is going to be going against San Jose 2. So that I want San Jose 2. So that takes, LA Kings 2 off the board for me a little bit. If you want to one off some Carter at 4,900, I think that's okay. I kind of like this Kings third line, Adrian Kempe, Velarde, and Elias Anderson. Velarde and Anderson get power play 2 correlation for 5,400. Kempe's been playing really good this season. I don't know why he got banished down to the bottom 6. I guess that's what you got to do when you have Dustin Brown. Put him up on the top line. But, yeah, I don't mind Velarde, Elias, mini there with, was it Kale Clague? A little power play 2 snack if you're getting, you need some cheap fillers in MME. But other than that, I mean, San Jose 2, LA King 1 are the main targets from this game, obviously. And then Brett Burns, you can one off. You can do whatever you want with him. And then Ferraro is a fine one-off as well for the time he sees on the ice.
All right. I agree with you there. I really like San Jose 2. I'm just going to mostly just be aware of what I'm doing if I'm stacking San Jose 1, 2, or LA 1 in this game, because I think they're going to be some very popular fillers. We have to wrap it up. Josh, really quick, do you have a hat trick pick? Everybody in the chat wants it. I got Max Pacioretty.
You got Pacioretty. I'm going to go Tomas Hertl.
All right, there you go. Hertl, Pacioretty, those guys are your hat trick picks. Feel free to drop yours in the comment if you're watching later. Listen to us on pod, and good luck. We will be back on Thursday. Short slate tomorrow. See you then.
Bye.